Hello folks, it is time to start going over some hobby nightmares. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. Hit that button because it would really help me out in reaching my goals. Let's jump in, shall we, with our first hobby nightmare of the day, and it is from Lopez the Heavy. And he says, "Hello North, you can call me Lopez the Heavy," and I have done. "I met a girl whilst playing Xbox, and we will call her Sarah. She was very sweet and lived a few hours away from me. After a few months of gaming, friendship developed into a budding romance. She was amazed when I told her I painted 40k minis. She was an avid painter of Dungeons and Dragons minis and was active at a local hobby store. After a few months, we had agreed to meet up for an extended weekend. Okay. I drove to her estate and we met up. We had a blast watching movies, talking about the hobby and various video games. We had a very romantic time, if you catch my drift. She said she wanted to get into 40k, so we went to a hobby store and I helped her figure out what army she wanted to play. She wanted to play World Eaters, and I offered to buy her the Combat Patrol to start, but she insisted that it was too much. After the weekend, I went home and we messaged daily for a few days, and one day, she just stopped." Oh, dude, that's the worst. That's the worst. Especially, like, if you're not used to being in a romantic relationship. Like, you know, every dude, I don't care how good looking you are, every dude's had this happen to him at one stage. Either a woman gets cold feet, or, you know, I don't know what happens. Maybe somebody else comes along, or whatever. I don't know. But every guy's been through this, where a woman just stops contact, just completely ghosts you. It's a terrible feeling, because you don't know what you've done wrong, you know? And it'd be a lot less cruel if somebody just said to you, right, you know, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't want to talk to you. I'm not into you anymore. So I don't want to, you know, that'd be a lot less cruel. It'd be devastating, but less cruel than leaving somebody on the latch. You know what I mean? Leaving somebody on red. It's not nice. So I'm sorry you had to go through that. Anyway, and one day she stopped. A week went by, and she messaged me that she didn't know what to do, quote unquote. I said, "Well, what's wrong?" She said she didn't want to talk about it, and I said okay, and she immediately blocked me. Dude, I think she was with somebody. I think she cheated on that person with you. Let's see if I'm right. A month and a half go by, and her profile messaged me. It claimed to be her sister. She said that Sarah was missing. My mind immediately went to panic. I didn't sleep that night, and the next day I contacted the police in the area. They said there was no missing persons report with that name attached to it. I asked how often records are updated, and they said constantly. This aroused my suspicion. I checked multiple missing persons groups in the area for a few days, and still nothing involving her came up. Later that week, the sister messaged me, and she begged me to call Sarah. I begrudgingly did. Guess who answered right away? Sarah. She said she was not missing, and she asked me how I was doing. It was at this point I told her to leave me alone. Yeah, dude, this is weird. She got furious and hung up. She tried turning my Xbox friends against me, and they told her to fuck right off. She then asked me if I wanted to try again, but she wouldn't give a reason for vanishing in the first place. So I told her to get lost, good man. Based on my experience with women, I can only assume a better option showed up, but fell through, so she wanted to get me back somehow. After the whole situation, I got mad hobby burnout, but last month I started getting into Blood Angels, which I have attached a picture of, the first one I painted. Anyways, that's my story. Sorry there wasn't much hobby in there. Love what you do on the channel. Have a wonderful day. Lopez. Cheers, Lopez. Mate, I am not at home right now. I'm recording this at work, so I don't have access to my pictures. I'm really sorry, dude. But next episode, remind me, just email me, and I'll put your picture up on the background. Okay, mate? Sorry about that. And yeah, it sucks. And you're probably right. You're probably right. Another option did probably come along. I was wrong there, wasn't I? But yeah, another option probably came along. She went off with that other option, thinking she was being very clever. And then as soon as that fell through, she thought she could get you back on a leash and come back and swan right back in. You know, and you told her short shrift where to go, and that's what you should have done. So, well done to you. George says, "Hey North, Black Templar here. I'm a recent follower who has found your channel and is loving your Hobby Nightmares content. Well, thank you very, very, very much. That's awesome of you. Thank you. It really gets me through the day when I listen to it, and it's a highlight when a new one is released. Well, good. Well, hopefully this week we're doing it daily, or nearly daily, not Wednesday, but, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, my submission is a recent experience at my local store that involved Cass, the Games Workshop manager, Dean, an employee, and Bill, an extremely socially inept individual. My involvement is post this incident we now call the Drip Site Massacre, and all names have been changed. After work one day, I drove to my local Games Workshop to just chat and maybe get some more paints for myself. I'm pretty good friends with Cass and Dean, so even if I don't buy anything, the drive is worth it just to catch up with them. As soon as I open the door, I can see her and Dean covered in yellow paint and cleaning what I can describe as a small, controlled explosion throughout the perimeter of the painting table all the way to the gaming tables. Paint was splattered everywhere. On the store minis, on the merch, hell, even on the register. So naturally, I asked what in the world had happened. What Cass said next filled me with so many mixed emotions because of how random it was. Bill was a regular customer who was known to be that guy, due to many reasons, but mostly because, no matter the situation, his social cues made conversations rather strange, to say the least. Sitting down to do some painting, Bill carried on awkwardly conversing with the staff until he brought out a large, mid-sized yellow dripper bottle that was then proceeded to be squeezed. Not satisfied with the amount that was coming out, he squeezed harder and harder until it exploded, showering the immediate vicinity, including gaming tables, Cass, Dean, himself, and the minis in a fresh coat of yellow paint. Bill sat there bewildered, noticing what had occurred, eventually getting up and inspecting the area, mostly out of sheer curiosity. Cass was obviously angry, but through her professionalism, she got to work cleaning the area and handing Dean and Bill some cleaning rags to help. Bill had other ideas as he left the store, leaving his paint and freshly undercoated yellow minis before saying, "I guess I'll see you after lunch then," quote unquote. Cass and Dean's jaws were on the floor, stunned that Bill would do this. Yeah, okay, so this sounds like somebody who is a little bit on the spectrum, shall we say, but on the other hand, I have known many arseholes like this just to be arseholes. Okay? I have known many people like this who will say that they've got autism, they will say that they've got, you know, issues, any sort of stresses going on in their life, as an excuse to carry on being a dickhead. And this may be one of those times, because this is something that I think if you're annoyed at this person and they are autistic, they get pretty upset with this situation pretty quickly. Do you know what I mean? Rather than saying, well, I guess I'll just go and, you know, have my lunch then, see ya, right? That's a dickhead thing to do. So unless you told me that this guy's got other tendencies, I'm just going to assume that he's a bit of a prick. Because this is not nice. After about half an hour, Bill returned and inspected the affected parts of the store, pointing out all the parts they missed. Cass and Dean kept it together and suggested Bill leave if he would not help. This was until Bill responded by saying that it wasn't his job. Yeah, this guy's a cunt. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's nothing to do with autism. This guy's a prick. Get him out, ban him from the store. Sorry. No, it is you messed up my shop, mate. It is your job. Clean up your shit or you're banned. How about that? Clean up your shit or you're banned. Very simple. Very simple equation here. If it is a true accident, fine. And this was a true accident. But you then need to help clean up that accident, clean up that mess. If you refuse to do so, and you have no mitigating circumstances, but you just can't be bothered, get out and don't come back. Alright? Cass then straight up demanded Bill leave the store before she bans him from the store. Bill gathered up his stuff, and it has been almost 2 weeks since we last saw him. Fortunately, through this, most of the game table minis were easy to clean, but were left with a yellowish battle scar from the event. Cheers, George. Dude, this is, don't let this guy back in. Sorry. Zero tolerance. Your job as a hobby store manager and hobby store worker is difficult enough without assholes like this making it that much harder. Alright? Don't let him back in your store. What a prick. What a prick. Moving on. Goldbrand says, Heyo North. So, I lasted about 6 weeks working for Games Workshop as a blue shirt, the newer version of a red shirt. And I felt like with all the hobby nightmares going on right now, this would be a great time to discuss just what the hell went wrong with my time in the company. So, I'm a girl who likes Elder Scrolls, hence the name. And as such, I do love fantasy war games. Have you tried the new Skyrim-esque one? No, I haven't, and I will do eventually though. This is where the sticking point comes in with Games Workshop. I was the only girl going for this retail assistant job at my local Games Workshop, and during the process, the manager and recruiter mentioned a few times how it would be cool to have a girl working there. Now, this is alright in and of itself. No, I've got to tell you, Goldbrand, no it isn't. No it isn't. It's illegal, is what it is. Okay, they're not allowed to bring up your sex, your sexual orientation, your creed, your skin colour. None of that is supposed to factor in whether you're getting a job or not, alright? This is illegal. They're not supposed to do this. Now, this is alright in and of itself, but it is technically illegal. Okay, it is technically illegal. Your sex or whatever should not be brought up in an interview. They were admitting here that if I got hired, it would be because of my sex. This is not just discriminatory towards me, but towards the hobby bros who wanted a job in the game they loved, but didn't get it because I've got a decent pair of tits. And to be fair, they are pretty decent. Good girl. Jesus Christ. You got more front than Brighton Pier. Jesus Christ, in more ways than one. Good for you. At the time, though, I was young and didn't really know any better, so I took the job. This was before Me Too and all that really kicked off. Not that this was a big and bad thing that has happened to me here, but it's not like I was looking for it, is what I mean. I mentioned in the interview that I loved Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and actually owned 8 full armies thanks to my dad, who was an avid collector before he passed away of throat cancer, and handed me the hallowed forces he had built up. My favourites were the Lizard Men, and I had grown them to some several thousand points of multicoloured Jurassic Park with axes nonsense. The manager and recruiter looked at me as if I had farted, and asked me, so, do you like Age of Sigmar? Not compared to fantasy really, I said honestly, but the models are amazing and the game is good. Plus, it just means more amazing models of fantasy battles if you get the right customers and the right bases together. Good enough, the manager said. A few days later, I got the job. Yay for me. Okay, cool, well, you know, you were honest at least. You know, the thing is that you've also got a leg to stand on now, where if they say, you know, why do you keep, like, not wanting to sell Age of Sigmar, you can say, well, I like 40k better, and I told you in the interview that's what I like, and you hired me. So, if that's not right, then, you know, I'll see you at the tribunal. Thank you very much. The first few weeks were induction weeks, where I was on like duties and shadowing the manager. I got the distinct sense that he liked having this 20-something girl follow him around the store, but whatever, it's training and I've got to do it. He showed me how to interact and approach customers, and I swear to God, it was like watching one of those cringe pickup artist vids years after the fact. The techniques are almost the same, it's just one leads to casual sex, and the other leads to selling models and a lot less casual sex. Actually, it leads to a lot less of selling models too, but we won't go there. That's because his techniques were shit and didn't work. It was essentially ask the customer constant questions about their hobby, lead them to Space Marines and the starter box sets, dry hump their leg if they won't buy stuff. The bog standard training at Games Workshop. Whenever he was out of earshot though, I'd just have normal conversations, have a laugh and, I'll be honest, a flirt here or there to secure sales, and before long, I was doing pretty great. I was only doing as good as James, or our other staffer in the store, even with all my inherent advantages. That dude could sell, and I loved watching him work. One day, I am called into the office upstairs on a Saturday morning, which is kinda weird, but okay. My manager sits me down and looks pained for what he's about to say. "Listen," he says, "I've been hearing some alarming things." Like what?" I asked. Apparently you've been selling people on playing Warhammer Fantasy Battles," unquote. Now, I had gone on a date with a guy called Dean. Sorry, North, but that was his name, and no, it was not you. At least I don't think it was. I don't think it was either. Who I had met at the store when he came in for some lead belcher spray and other bits. Okay. He was charming and we hit it off. I assumed this talk was to do with me going on a date with a customer. But no, it's because I was selling fucking models. But selling them wrong. In the manager's opinion. Oh my god. Ugh. Okay. Yeah? I asked. The manager shook his head as if dealing with a simpleton. "We don't sell Warhammer Fantasy Battles. We sell Age of Sigmar," he said. "But wait, you can use AOS models in Fantasy Battles, right?" I asked. "Well, yeah, but... So why can't I sell Age of Sigmar models to people who want to play fantasy in their own homes?" I asked. "Because," he sighed, "you're promoting a product we don't sell." This argument, if you have not gathered, went on for several exhausting minutes. In the end, I agreed to stop as it was not worth the energy arguing, and I went downstairs. I won't lie, I was a bit gutted to get a reprimand and an actual verbal warning. Yes, he put a verbal warning on me just after I'd passed my probation, the asshole. Dude, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You should not be getting a probation. You should not be getting a verbal warning for selling models. That's your job. Okay? You should have challenged that. You should have gone straight to head office. Go straight to head office and say, "I just got an official verbal warning for doing my job, for selling models." Do you know what I mean? And if they want to back him up, they can do. It's not a big deal. But at least you pledge your case. You know what I mean? A retail assistant job isn't worth keeping if it's going to stress you out this much. It's not, right? The issue was, the guys I had sold armies to soon came back wanting to play Fantasy Battles in the store and were turned away from the store by our manager. Dude, what a fucking tool. When I was there on my own, I'd actually advertised it to the lads on the Discord that I was going to be there on my own, and they would come down to play fantasy and, you guessed it, buy more fucking Age of Sigmar models for their forces. Yeah, because you've done a good job advertising Games Workshop's games, and they want to come in and buy models to play those games. For fuck's sake, dude. Soon, though, after weeks of back and forth, needling between me and the manager headed in again and took me upstairs for a bollocking for selling his models incorrectly. I was sitting on an offer from Kiel University at this time, so I just looked him up and down, told him to fuck off, and that I was done, and just walked away from the store. I typed up my resignation, demanding my pay be brought up to speed for the end of the month, through my solicitor, who is my uncle, and I never really looked back. And that was my awkward several weeks working for Games Workshop, the strangest, oddest job I've ever had. Love all you do, North. When are we getting a face reveal? Goldbrand. Okay, I'm probably not going to do one. As I've said, I value my privacy, and I'm in education, so it's not great. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather not have my face be on the internet that much. If you want to know what I look like, I'm on the Discord. So go on the Discord. It's down below. Log into that, and you'll see go on to Northern Exile, and you'll see my face there if you're that desperate to see it. in other news, this is ridiculous. Like, this is the most... I've read some shit on this channel, and this doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but I'm telling you now, guys, this is one of the most silly things I've ever read. This is so silly. This person is selling Games Workshop models to customers and being reprimanded for it. Like, what the fuck? In the early days of Age of Sigmar, I'm fully aware that Games Workshop were very overzealous about not having fantasy battles in the store. When I was working as a staff member, we were also told not to allow fantasy battles games to be played in store, even in the days when we allowed games at all. Now you can't play any games in most stores in the UK, but that's just by the by, that's an argument for a different day. So, even back then, we were told do not allow fantasy battles in the store. Why? Because they don't sell the core starter box set. It's not a game Games Workshop supports anymore, so you can't play it in store. Technically, they are within their rights to make that decision, and it's fine. But not selling people models because they're going to use those models in Warhammer Fantasy, mate, you don't have the fucking right to dictate what I do with things that I buy. If I want to buy these models, right, throw them in my toilet and do a big fucking dump on them and never use them, that's up to me, not up to you. You don't get to dictate what I do with the things that I buy. Alright? If I assault somebody with it, fine. Take it off me, okay? But if I'm going to use my models to play in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, that's up to me. Go fuck yourself. This really does seem like the kind of manager where you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get these Seraphon for my lizard men, and he'd take it off you. No, you can't do that. That's Warhammer Fantasy Battles. That's not what these are for. It says Age of Sigmar on the box, right? This fucking douche nozzle, mate. You did well getting away from there, Goldbrand. You did very, very well getting away from there. Glad things have gone well. But, oh my god. What a prick. Anyway. Have you guys ever encountered anybody who's like this? That's all. And also, Goldbrand likes Elder Scrolls, so what is your favourite Elder Scrolls game? Put that in the comment section down below. I'll be back tomorrow with some more Hobby Nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We're getting loads of lovely Hobby Nightmares coming in. If you want yours read out, make sure you send it to hobbynightmares@gmail.com. That is down below. I love you a long time. I'll see you tomorrow, and have a good one. Bye now.